Oh, Jesus.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Welcome.
Brett.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Hello, Katie.
And two of them will be present. And we're waiting for them to enter. I think one of them is going to be late for maximum 10 minutes or something like that. So let's wait a little bit.
Denise, you broke up a little, so you just said two of the directors will be joining?
Yes, exactly. We have 3 directors in our executive board. So we have the president, we have the technical director that just entered here, Bruno Quick, and we also have our chief administrative and financial officer, Eduardo, and he will be joining us in a moment, but I think he will be late for maximum 10 minutes. And I don't know if Cliff is here already, if we do a roundup of introductions. I don't know. What do you think? Katie, Brett?
Well, I'm a little worried about, because we have so many people, if we do a whole round of introductions, we might be going on for a half hour or so. So what I was thinking what would be good is maybe just as people speak, they introduce themselves.
Yeah. So as Denise said, our Eduardo Diogo, our CFO, is going to be late for maximum 5 or 10 minutes. So maybe we can start already. Bruno, our technical director, is here, and also our the other managers and other analysts from SEBRAE. So I'm Juliana Kemp. I work with the institutional affairs here at SEBRAE. I'm the deputy manager. And we have been talking with SBDC and also with the embassy for many time to discuss the methodology and a partnership between SEBRAE and SBDC. And in our last meeting, actually, Denise and yours last meeting was more on a technical level. And today we brought our managers and directors, as I said, so they can hear from you, especially from Cliff, maybe a little bit more about SBDC methodology, so we can plan together the next steps, the next moves here in SEBRAE. So we have already present the methodology for the other managers and for our directors, but still we have some questions, and maybe this is the best opportunity for us to clarify and to define which are the next steps to implement our partnership. As Denise said, unfortunately, our president, Carlos Melis, couldn't be here with us today, but he's really excited about the possibility of this partnership with SBDC, and he thanks already all of you for this meeting and for the opportunity to finally have this partnership. Hi, Cliff, how are you? So I don't know, maybe if someone would like to say something, or if we start already by Cliff or someone else explaining us a little bit more about the methodology, or our director Bruno, if he want to say some words previously.
Pedindo para o Bruno falar alguma coisa.
Well, first, hello everyone. Very nice. I mean, very exciting to be able to get in touch with you again.
Estou animado por,
Senta aqui.
por falar com vocês.
Vai levar
de novo.
1 hora a reunião.
O Enio está com o áudio aberto.
Microphone is open, Enio.
Please close it. Yeah. Well, anyway, I was able to meet, to have a contact with you some time ago in New Orleans, right after Katrina, that hurricane, to know how you worked. And I could meet some of our colleagues there. And the more we knew about how you work, more excited we were about working together. So it's a very special opportunity for us, and I intend to listen with very attentionally so we can take the time we somehow lost because we started conversation 10 years ago. And I think there's no excuse for waiting so long. So nice to meet you all. Thank you very much. I see that you got a lot of very important people here from United States government, from OEA, and from the program, the University of Texas, of the SBDC. I was just finishing, I was able to be in United States working and knowing the work of the SBA and procurement, and so it's a very strong example for us. It inspired us in our Small Business Act in Brazil. I was there, and so we have a lot to share and to know from you, and thank you very much, and we hope to be very effective this time.
Excellent. Just for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Katie Thompson. I work at the U.S. Embassy here in Brasilia. What we discussed, Cliff and I and Monica, is perhaps doing a presentation, a brief presentation of the methodology, and then opening it up for specific questions. We can always use the questions that Denise has already sent to us as a guide, but if you have further questions, we can move into that segment after the presentation. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Cliff and Monica from UTSA.
First, I have to always unmute. I always sometimes forget that. Hello, everybody. It's good to see everybody's smiling faces. I'm going to share my screen. And I'll go through this relatively quickly because, again, I know that a lot of you have experience with the SBDCs, and I know a lot of you, have seen our programs. But I'm just going to go really quickly. I mean, I think first about us, we're the UTSA Center for Global Development. We're a program of the Institute for Economic Development at the University of Texas at San Antonio, and so when we're talking about helping countries adopt and adapt the SBDC methodology, we're talking from 30 years of experience and operating centers. I operate a center, so I'm not talking about this in a theoretical context. The other thing is that we have now 18 years of experience in transferring the SBDC methodology. So if we were to think what we knew when Bruno was in New Orleans at the Americas SBDC conference versus what we know now, we know far more now because we've worked with, national SBDC networks in Chile and SINA in Colombia. And so every country that we work with going forward, we benefit from the previous experience. And so we learn what works, what doesn't work. And so we're much better at what we do now versus 10 years ago. So maybe it was good that this is happening 10 years later. But again, it's just something that comes from experience. And our mission is very simple. We build, we strengthen, and we connect a network of SBDCs. And so that includes building and strengthening SBDC networks. We also develop SBDC professionals throughout their careers. And I think this is something that sometimes people forget. Like right now, Monica is working on a project where she's sharing best practices from SBDC advisors all throughout the Americas. And so this isn't something that just starts and ends. It's part of an ongoing initiative where we're working together and helping each other. And then finally, what we want to do is help our clients buy and sell with your clients. We want to promote investment. We want to promote technology commercialization. So real quick, I'll go through this very quickly because I know you're very familiar. in the 10 years since, our conference in New Orleans, and with the contacts with, Europe and Asia and other parts of the world, one thing that I've learned is that the SBDCs, it's the only proven way to grow the small business sector on a national scale. So talking to people in Germany, and I always assumed that there was an equivalent, talking to colleagues in Korea, and there's really nothing that's similar to the SBDC methodology that can grow a small business sector on a measurable, efficient scale, and on a scale that matters. And so really if you're looking at it from a national point of view, the SBDC methodology is the only way to grow the small business sector. And of course, we focus on economic impact. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So our services are very similar to your services, to any other services or business assistance program. It's one-on-one technical assistance, training, market research. So how we offer these services, and so we have different client segments in the SBDCs, and one client segment are startup businesses. And so we assist startups. And so there's some programs that don't assist startups, but we do. But the goal is efficiency. And what we will teach with the transferring of the methodology is that, yes, we want to help startup entrepreneurs, but they produce less economic impact for every hour invested versus established small and medium-sized businesses. So we do assist them, but it's very efficient, and we measure the hours on average that we invest for these clients. So, first it's training and then advising. The focus for most SBDCs and where we generate the vast amount of economic impact are for established micro and small and medium-sized businesses. And so what do they want? I want to sell more. I need financing in order to grow. I need help in managing my business accounting and cost. And so the real focus and where SBDCs generate the vast majority of their economic impact is from serving established businesses, and then what we call high growth gazelles that are small businesses, medium-sized businesses that are growing very quickly, and they have different needs: tax, regulatory compliance, strategic planning, exporting, selling to the government, HR issues. And so, as you'll notice, the black line is the average business. The blue line is the SBDC client. And so let's say, for instance, we're working with a business, startup, in developing their business plan. Because we measure everything, we know that their performance in terms of generating results is higher than the average business. But the longer that we work with the business, and a business that's receiving our assistance, that's implementing what they're learning, as time goes on, that investment in assistance generates more results. And so that's why SBDCs want to work with small businesses over many, many, many years. So from when they start up, because as time goes on, continued assistance generates more and more economic impact. So we're able to measure our clients, what they're doing in terms of job creation, growing sales, obtaining financing, exporting. And the longer that we work with them, the more economic impact that we generate. This is a very average SBDC size. So usually a program could have one director. The average is 4 full-time advisors or consultants. You could have 2 senior, 2 junior, but there's no rule about that. And usually 1 administrative professional and student interns from local universities. And again, the size of the centers depends on the context. We have centers that are rural with 1 person. We have centers that are in larger cities that have 12 people. And so really the size of the centers is based on the local need. The SBDCs are funded, and Bruno mentioned the SBA. Half of the funding from the US SBDCs comes from the US Small Business Administration. I just got a message that I guess there's people waiting in the lobby. I don't know if we're missing anybody. I just see the message.
Yes, I believe The other director has just joined us, Eduardo.
Fantastic. I don't want to leave, forget anybody. So half of the funding comes from the U.S. federal government, the Small Business Administration, but those funds are matched by, in the U.S., by state governments. So in our case, the state of Texas, could be the local government, with institutions of higher education. And so the benefits of this is that the funding obviously is expanded. The funding is more stable because a change in governor or change in president, because there's other partners involved, it's very difficult to make unilateral changes. And we've seen this in the 10 years since the conference in New Orleans. Chile, Colombia, Guatemala twice, El Salvador have all experienced changes in government. And because of the funding mechanism, they tend to be a little bit more stable. The other thing that they do is it reduces duplication. And so rather than everybody having their own program, their own small business assistance program, everybody's contributing to one SBDC program. So that's just very basic about the SBDCs, just some key characteristics. The model is flexible and differs from country to country, but these are things that are usually constant. The focus on long-term advising. How an SBDC generates economic impact is through the one-on-one, long-term advising with the small business client. And so we provide our guidance, our advice. They do most of the work. They write their business plan. They work on creating the marketing plan, and then they implement. And so we invest time with those clients that are willing to work on their business. And so sometimes there's a perception, oh, well, the service is free, clients don't value the service. And we teach countries. I remember in Colombia with SENA, that was a big concern of theirs, and we showed them how to change that dynamic where clients understand that the time of the SBDC, the advisor, is very valuable, and that we work with those clients that are willing to work on their business. We can assist large numbers of clients, and so one SBDC advisor in a year can work with 60 to 125 different advising clients in each year. This isn't training, this is one-on-one advising. And so this allows us to serve greater numbers of clients, provide coverage for the entire community, and it helps us maximize the efficiency and the economic impact that we generate. Another thing that's a key characteristic of the SBDC methodology is a culture of constant measure. All client data, all services, all activities are registered in the NEOSERA or equivalent database. And so we measure everything. All SBDC centers, all SBDC advisors have productivity and economic impact goals. Those goals are monitored weekly, monthly, quarterly in a very transparent manner. So all centers have goals, all advisors have goals, and we share the information on performance so everybody can see how the others are doing. Additionally, we use that data to make better decisions and to optimize the center operations. Another key characteristic of the SBDC methodology is economic impact. And so we are focused on maximizing the impact, economic impact that our clients create. This is not an entrepreneurship program. It's not focused on activities, it's focused on results. And so, and I'll share with you how that impacts the operations, but new business starts, business formalization, jobs created, jobs retained, increases in sales, in our case of dollars, access to capital, exports. And so the other thing too is that each year, each SBDC advisor, each center, and the national network should produce more and more and more economic impact. The other thing that economic impact does is it drives the SBDC model. It improves the quality of our services, because if we have to help our clients create economic impact and capture the result, we have to deliver a high quality service. It also promotes and encourages adapting our services to the local needs. So we just can't offer a service. We have to understand for our community, what are the local needs and what services can we offer to help our clients create results. It helps us optimize the service mix. So what type of service, how much advising, how much training. If the goal is economic impact, we can, as centers and national network, optimize what services we should offer that will maximize results. It drives efficiency, it drives problem solving, it drives improvement, because we can see how everybody's performing. If there's a star, we could ask the question, okay, well, what is this center doing in the city that they're creating all of this economic impact, and how can we share that to the other centers? It encourages constant measurement. It motivates long-term follow-up with the clients. And I showed you that graph. The more time that we work with a small business client, the more impact we create. So that makes the SBDCs follow up with their clients. And I just want to mention this. The focus is on economic impact creation, but, and this is a very big but, it's always in alignment with the values of the organization. And so it would be done within the values of SBRAE. It would also be done within the national development priorities. And so one example, Colombia, they had the deed that they're recovering from a civil war. And so they wanted to offer services to these regions that were impacted by the conflict. And so, yes, that did not produce the greatest economic impact, but it was important to the government of Colombia. So yes, we focus on economic impact, but always in a manner aligned with, in your case, SBRAE's values, and always in alignment with the National Development Plan. So I just wanted to make that clear, because we talk about impact, but it's done within the context of SBRAE. It's done within the context of the Brazilian government. And then we talked about economic impact. And so at the end of the day, what we want for you, for SBRAE, which I know you're already doing, but by implementing the SBDC methodology, the measurement of results is much easier. And so we can show, increase in sales. We can show, in the US, 100,000 new jobs created, 5.6 billion US dollars. And so these results are created because the methodology is being implemented. And so our clients create more jobs, they sell more, and then the return on investment for the US government is much higher. I also wanted to share with you, and this, I don't think Brett has seen, I think, and maybe Juliana and the OAS have seen some of the initial numbers. These are the final numbers from 2020. This is what the SBDCs outside the United States are doing. And I want to clarify this. And to me, this is a great kind of verification of what we're doing works. These are the results for 24 countries. Not all 24 have SBDCs at this point. Some are in the process of starting. But there's 278 SBDCs. They assisted a little over 76,000 advising clients. So these are clients that are received advising assistance. They helped create little over 6,600 new businesses. They helped 10,000 businesses formalize. They helped create these 278 centers, 23,000, almost 21,000 jobs, helped retain almost 23,000 jobs, 151 million in increased sales, 45 million in new financing. I just wanted to mention, these were the results that the SBDCs outside the United States produced with zero US taxpayer funding. So this is their results. They did this 100% their results. By the way, during COVID-19. So think about that. So their performance was pretty similar to the previous year, but this is considering that a lot of their economies cratered for half of a year. And so I am just, it was such a confirmation that this methodology works. It was such a confirmation that this methodology plays an important role in helping small businesses not only survive the economic disruptions from the COVID-19 pandemic, but to be positioned for future growth. And so these results are the 100% credit of the 278 SBDCs that are operating throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. And it's a testament to the methodology. The methodology works. And again, this was all they're doing. And again, the other key characteristic, and my number one concern when I work, and hopefully we work with Sebrae in Brazil, I know what we do works, but my number one concern is return on investment, because I know 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road, somebody is going to ask, okay, how much did this cost? And what are the results? And so our job is to help you produce as quickly as possible a positive return on investment. And so that positive return on investment justifies the government support of the SBDCs. It justifies the free services that we offer, because again, in the United States, the U.S. federal government and the state governments gain almost $5 in tax revenue for every dollar invested in the SBDCs. And that's how we create a sustainable SBDC network. In Texas, my state, it is a very, 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 very conservative state. Not a lot of support for government programs. They love the SBDCs because the SBDCs grow the economy and produce results. The final thing is, ideally, there's joint investment. And so you have government, you have higher education, you have private sector also contributing in-kind resources and support. And so you have everybody working together. It grows the funding, but it also makes the program more sustainable over the long term. And the other thing is simplicity, flexibility to adapt to the local market. The SBDC is focused on results. And so because of that, in Colombia, for example, in Leticia on the Amazon, the services that are offered are a little bit different than the services that are offered in Bogota. It's a different context. But always the focus is on producing the maximum economic impact. So if you operate in, for example, a center in the jungle in Colombia, you're going to produce economic impact. It's not going to be a lot, but it's going to be the maximum amount of economic impact that can be created by our clients. I don't know if you want to stop here for a second and ask, are there any questions about the SBDC methodology? And then I can talk about how we expand the methodology to another country.
Cliff, I think you can go further, and then we ask. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you never know. Sometimes somebody has a very kind of burning question, but I'll just talk briefly about how we work with countries in helping them adopt and adapt the SBDC methodology. So we have a 5-phase approach that we've developed, and really over the past 12 years or so, that's very organized, and it's very, very focused and very efficient. Phase 1 is the startup phase. And so the goal of the startup phase is to get support from all of the different stakeholders that are in the small business ecosystem. And so obviously the most important stakeholder is Sebrae. Other important stakeholders, if there are other parts of the government that are important for funding, it could be legislators, it could be local governments, it could be other chambers of commerce. And so basically what we do is we explain the SBDC methodology, and then we ask 2 questions. Is this methodology feasible for your national context? Is question 1. Question 2 is, how should it be adopted for your national context? And so once we have a country that says, yes, we've made the decision, it could have been Chile in 2015 or Colombia in 2016 roughly, they say, yes, we want to adopt this methodology. And then we get, yes.
May I interrupt to the question?
Sure.
And so can you give us an example of how you adapt a methodology, for example, like in Chile, which were the changes that you did?
Yeah.
Just to clarify for us.
Yeah. That's an excellent question. It really depends on the country. So Chile and Colombia are 2 examples. So Chile, they said, what we're doing is, we're operating these centros de emprende from Cercotec. they're not producing results, so we're going to shut down everything. So the Chileans shut down their programs and they restarted with SBDCs, Centros de Desarrollo de Negocios. And so we walked them through this whole process of creating, I mean, again, it's the SBDC methodology, but obviously adapted to the Chilean context. And again, this happens at every country. There is no US SBDC model, there's no Chilean SBDC model, there's no Colombian. There's one SBDC methodology and it's adapted to each country. Colombia, SENA, which is a very large national organization, they took a different approach. They have Centros de Emprendimiento, but they decided, okay, we're going to take what we have and we're going to take, large pieces of the SBDC methodology, and we're going to reorient our Centros de Emprendimiento into SBDCs. And so in the case of SEBRAE, we understand, and this is the case in every country, you have many things that are working. You have many successes. And so our job is to work with you on keeping everything that is working and maybe just adding some things from the SBDC methodology, because, if you think about the services that SEBRAE have been offering successfully for many years, if something's working, we for sure want to continue to use what is working. And so those are the decision process. But again, that's really our value, is we can kind of walk with you to make these decisions and really use data and really, to kind of use our experience to come up with the best solution possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, I've heard recently from one country that we were talking to, and they said, "Oh no, it's all or nothing. The SBDCs are all or nothing," and that's never the case. It's not the case in the United States. Every state kind of adapts the SBDCs to their context, and so it's never all or nothing. It's always, let's use what's working, but how can we make this even more successful? It's a very good question. It's a very important question. And then once a country says, yes, we want to do this, we then begin the transfer phase. And this is where we transfer the SBDC methodology on two levels. One level, it's very easy to understand, the center level, providing training for future SBDC directors, future SBDC advisors on how to implement this methodology. That is very simple. It's very simple. It's very difficult to implement. It requires discipline. It requires planning. It requires measurement. And so we essentially teach the future SBDC professionals on how to think like SBDC professionals. Every decision is based on results. And so, so what service is going to help us produce the most results? How can we, orient our centers to produce the most result? That's one level. The other level is from the national level, the SEBRAE level, the national level. How are you going to structure? How are you going to fund? How are you going to operate? How are you going to administer a national network of centers that are all operating in a similar manner, but that are adapted to local context? And so we work with and again, in Chile, it's with Cercotec, in Colombia, it's with SENA, how to create an administrative framework that's a durable framework that helps the SBDCs produce results. And so we'll work with you on how to, from a national perspective, and again, if you're starting with a pilot of centers, how do you build this framework that can scale out? So it might be, 5 states, but then it could be 10, that could be 20, it could be 30. And so this is one area where we can save you years and years of effort, and because we can basically you'll have to make a lot of decisions. And so my value, Monica's value, is we can tell you what the implications of those decisions are. You decide, but we can say, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, just off of experience. And so this transfer phase, once the pilot centers are ready to open, the transfer phase ends, and then you get into the pilot implementation. And so this is where you're launching the centers. The centers are beginning operations. It's almost like a child walking with the centers. It's at first, it's very, very, very difficult. And so we provide guidance to the centers on how to implement what is a very, very, very difficult methodology to implement. And so they just need time. And so, they're not going to be perfect at first, but then we can guide the centers and kind of walk them through. I know Chile, they loved it. We would go and visit the different centers, and we would sit down with them. And just because we have so much experience in operating centers, we could save them so much time just by providing recommendations. And so that's, at the center level, but also at the national level, how are the centers being administered? How are the results being communicated? What performance monitoring, and we want everything to be very transparent. And so this, at the beginning of the year, it's a little disorganized and it's a little chaotic. By the end of the year, the SBDCs, it's amazing. The most amazing transformation happens between month 3 and month 11, 12. It's like they're different people because they're implementing the methodology. They know what they don't know. They know about their local market. They understand how they're going to adapt it. And by the end of that year, they're already producing results. And so the pilot implementation phase usually should last 1 year, because it takes generally 1 year for a center and for a national network to get going. And then after that, it's consolidation. And the consolidation phase is year after year after year. There's no real duration. It's kind of ongoing, is to produce more results, to build sustainability within the SBDC network, sustainability, results, integrity, national quality standards, and to create a network of centers that are high performing, that are sustainable, that are growing funding because they're producing results, they're receiving more funding support. And again, we want to build something that lasts many, many, many years, not just something that's short term. And so the consolidation phase is all about results. It's all about accreditation. It's all about sustainability and creating something that can span elections. This is actually going to change. Phase 5, which also doesn't end, it is internationalization, because what we want to do, and what Monica Alcos, she's been great at, is working between the SBDC networks to have our clients sell to their clients to sell to our clients. And so to promote international trade between the small businesses and between the SBDC networks. But the other part now is innovation and technology commercialization. And so once you have a base of SBDCs and you have the methodology down, you can apply that methodology to export assistance. That's what my center does. And in the state of Texas, which is the #1 exporting state, our center in SBDC, we produce more economic impact, export impact, than our export promotion agency in Texas, because we apply the SBDC methodology to export assistance. We can also apply the SBDC methodology to technology commercialization, innovation, government contracting. And so the phase 5 is really internationalizing the SBDC network, promoting innovation and technology commercialization. Those are the 5 phases, and I'm going to end this here. So again, UTSA provides advising and support. Always that advice and that support and that guidance is focused on helping SBRAE to create the most successful network of centers as quickly as possible. And so we provide the recommendations and advice. You make the decisions. This is your SBDC network. You're the boss. You make the decisions. We're just here to help. And so, and again, far more about Brazil than I do. You know much more about the Brazilian context than I do. And so we can provide the information about the SBDCs. And again, you take that and together we can create a very successful network of centers, whatever you call it, as quickly as possible. The other thing is, we are not for profit. We're a university, and so anytime there's questions about costs, the costs really depend on the number of activities. And so, if there's a pilot program with 3 states versus a pilot program of 10 states, our costs really depend on the number of activities. And so one of the things that we'll do with you in the startup phase is we'll work with you and develop a critical path. And so this critical path document will have everything that will have to be done to start a network of centers. And we'll have it activity by activity by activity by activity. And so the costs really come down to, okay, well, how many states do you want to start with as a pilot? And then in the future, how do you want to roll that out? Do you want it to scale to, to 5, then to 10? And so that's really where, and I know people get frustrated and they ask me, well, how much does it cost? And it's like asking somebody, well, how much does a house cost? Well, it depends. How big is the house? What features do you want in the house? And so, but that said, we always try to do things as efficiently as possible. And again, that helps you create the greatest results as efficiently and as quickly as possible. And we could talk about the contracting. I can give some kind of recommendations based on our past experience. And the other thing too is about the intellectual property. There are no royalties. And so what we share with you, we will license you the IP for use in Brazil. And so it'll be for your domestic use, for your Sebrae centers, and there will not be any royalties. The only thing that we do ask is it's not for export. And so, it's for use in Brazil. And, later on, if there's, opportunities to collaborate internationally, that's a separate agreement that we would have to come to. But, I'll open up questions. Please let me know if there's anything that wasn't clear or if I can answer or anything that I can answer.
Thank you very much. Please, we have here now our CFO and CEO, Eduardo Diogo. I don't know, maybe director, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, please. Hello, everyone. First of all, let me apologize for my tiredness. And also, as you can see, my voice is not the best one at this point. So I'd like to say hi to my colleague, Bruno Quick. He's the technical director of Sebrae. So when you get to a meeting like that, so important, so strategic, late, it's always complicated for us to catch up. But I wanna salute Cliff Parades, Monica Alcos, Kathy Thompson, all of you and everybody that put their effort here to make this meeting, to putting this meeting together. I would like to highlight some few points. I was listening here to you, Cliff, if you allow me to call you like that.
Sure.
We have been trying to implement some missions to the US, but of course the reality nowadays is a kind of complicated for us to do so. But I still believe that never a presidential interaction will never be replaced by video conferences. And I also hope that this perception bears resemblance to the reality. So I would like, first of all, to make it clear for you all that it would be a pleasure for us in our next trip or next time we are in the US, for us to have the opportunity to have this talk together and presentially. Secondly, since I got to this meeting late, I didn't understand exactly the difference in the correlation between SBC and SBA. So if I could get more, clarified about this point, I would love that. And I like very much when you guys mentioned, you said it's not all of nothing. It's not all of nothing. And we also at Sebrae, we work exactly like that. We don't work our way or the highway. We never do that. And we don't work unilaterally with unilateral adherence. We work always with bi or multilateral union, discussing strategic alliances. So for me, that's what we are talking about here. Not partnership, more than that, strategic alliance. So I'd like to highlight this point as well. And also, to finalize, when I heard your 5-phase approach, that you included the startup, the transferring, implementation, consolidation, internationalization, it reminded me the ADKAR model. And also for me, I don't know if you are familiar, you probably are, awareness, desire, knowledge, and also it's a very important way to consolidate implementation, because I always make this point, much more important than the conception is the implementation. So I'd like to hear your comments about those points that I mentioned, and I'd like to finish again apologizing for my tardiness and I congratulate all of you again that is responsible to put this meeting together. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And I agree with you 100% on the idea of strategic alliance. This is much more to me, this is much more to Monica, all of our team than a project or something that we're working together. This is something, a strategic alliance, and it's not just a strategic alliance with the US SBDCs, it's part of a global initiative. This is part of a strategic alliance with the Chileans, the Colombians, the Central Americans, and together we accomplish so much more than if we're just isolated in each our own country working separately. So I agree, and for me, I still work with the Mexican SBDCs that we started 18 years ago, 19 years ago. We're still working together. We're still we're family, we're brothers. And so, sometimes the brother needs something and I'm available. Sometimes, I need something and they're available. So I agree 100% about the importance of the strategic alliance. And yeah, we're together. We're and again, there's no, kind of father, we're all brothers and sisters together and we work together to produce the best result. So yeah, this is not a US model. It's already a global model. The relationship between SBA. So SBA is the US federal agency that provides funding to the SBDCs. In the United States, how it works is each state, so the state of Florida or the state of New York, they operate their own SBDC network. And so they have a contract with SBA. And it's called a cooperative agreement. And in that cooperative agreement, it defines how many clients, how many hours of advising, how many training programs, but it also defines economic impact. So for this money that you're receiving, what is your plan and what are the results? And so the other part of that is, so half of the money comes from SBA. The other half is matched with state of Texas or state of Florida funds. It's matched with university funds. So in our case in Texas, the state of Texas has a contract with SBA. I mean, the UTSA has a contract with SBA, but it's matched with state of Texas funds and with University of Texas funds. So it allows you to extend resources by getting other stakeholders. And then the other benefit is it reduces duplication. So you have the master kind of funding coming from SBA, but it's matched with local resources. If that answered.
Understood. And how would that work abroad? I mean, abroad from the US?
Well, it's again, I'll just pick on Chile and Colombia. So Chile operates in a very similar manner. The Cercotec has a contract with the local host of the SBDCs, and so they have to provide half of the funding, and Cercotec provides half. SENA in Colombia is a little bit different. They're not utilizing matching funds, so SENA pays 100% for their SBDCs, and so SENA told us, look, we can't do the funding, we can't have the contracts. It'll take too long. So we are funding 100% of the operation of the centers, which there's good that it provides. It's much easier because you're not dealing with local partners. The bad and the risk is what happens the next election when there's a new
Thank you so much.
Thank you, please, Bruno.
Yeah. So as Eduardo has just asked, I asked my permission to meet you by Cliff, okay, not Mr. Paredes.
No, Cliff, please.
Okay. Well, at first, it comes in a very good moment for us. We are now implementing our relationships strategy, and not as a coincidence, we are adopting an American methodology like from Peppers and Rogers, that one-to-one concept. And we started by our direct relation with clients, like online and education and artificial intelligence, answering questions from small businesses and this kind of stuff. And right now we are starting to structure our strategy for the indirect clients. And the idea of that, we are working a lot with the municipalities. We're trying to put an office, a Sebrae local office, in a partnership with the municipalities all over Brazil. We have made it in 600 municipalities. We have 5,570 municipalities in Brazil, cities in Brazil. And we call this strategy entrepreneur municipality or entrepreneur city. And we have more than 1,000 municipalities in a line now to implement it. And this idea of adopting your knowledge, your methodology, that's very, very effective. It's very, very good. And it's very impressive how you measure things. And this idea how to measure the return over investments, it's very special for us right now. We are working hard over indicators. And so you have many things that are very precious, especially at this moment. So this cooperation opportunity comes in the right time. We agree, Eduardo. And so we are very anxious to start working. I mean, we are quite well convinced. The opportunity is great. What you have here is wonderful. And so it's just to make it quickly. My name is Bruno Quick, so have to my name. I mean, and so congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gustavo, do you want to ask something or not?
Oh, very briefly, thank you all. Thank you, Catherine, for all support that you give until now. Cliff, the presentation helped us to clarify so many aspects that was sent those information. I only would like to emphasize that until December 2022, we will possibly work in phase 1 and 2, because phase 1 takes 6 months, and the second one, the transfer, probably 1 year. The information that we have right now is that this 2 stage, the 2 phase can be financed for the Organization of American States. And what we can expect on these 1 year and a half is probably construct this work plan, as Cliff told you, what kind of house we want, and also what kind of intermediate results that we can be looking for on these or the next years. Probably indicators and some solutions like digital solution that we will be probably working on right now on this network. So that's the main aspect that I would like to emphasize, and to see if it's clear that that's the main strategy right now. Start quickly, as our director told us, on these 2 states, and be thinking on this house that we would like to construct on the next years.
Yeah, those are some very, very important decisions. What kind of house, and and to be honest with you, I don't have enough knowledge about Brazil about, okay, how would this be rolled out? What would be the best strategy? So yeah, during the startup phase, one of the most important activities is developing that critical path. So how would these centers be rolled out? How what would be the process and what would be the activities? And from there, we can start determining, okay, what the costs would be. And again, we're very transparent about about that, and there's no surprises. And my only recommendation and what I've learned, like with Chile and what I've learned with Colombia as well, because we had multiple contracts. So like with Chile, we had multiple contracts. With Sena in Colombia, we had multiple contracts. And so I think one of the mistakes is sometimes if you're too conservative at the beginning about the number of activities, it's much harder later on sometimes. So, while there's positive momentum, it's better to have a contract that kind of covers some more activities, because 2 years down the road, who knows what the situation is. And so, and again, we can talk about that and, what would be the best approach for Sebrae in Brazil.
Absolutely. So I believe Bruno and Cesar, Gustavo, and Juliana, our crew from Sebrae, and everybody else that we are very grateful with all of you. So I believe that we are looking forward now to formalize and to see how do we get started, isn't it? I believe that with this strategic alliance, we're gonna go hit the ground running. And this is really important because Bruno mentioned about the return on investment, and also ROT is also very important, return on time. So we are running out of time. We have only 18 months in our term.
Right.
And we do a lot of stuff, isn't it, Bruno? We gonna still do a lot of stuff, especially regarding the legacy. We are focusing in our legacy, at least trying to leave a legacy. Just so you know, Sebrae will turn half century next year. Mm-hmm. So it is a very important moment, and we feel very fortunate that we are in the positions we are now. President Carlos Melles, Bruno as the technical director, me as the CFO and CAO, because of course, this is a very significant moment for us. So what would be our next steps?
Eduardo, I suggest maybe Cliff, to kind of build a matching in between our reality and our possibilities and what you have here. Maybe we could go through a kind of a quick workshop. We have those online tools. We are very used to work with them, like making a SWOT and whatever. And so we could make this first approach. So we could have it more defined, what our possibilities, and we would like to make it as quick as possible, and do the most we can on the time we have. Eduardo said our actual turn ends in 18 months, and we are very committed with delivering and have a lot of results to present at the end. And so we could make like a kind of workshop. If you think it's a good idea, we could arrange it. We have people here that are very dedicated to that. And so it will be more real. I mean, you will know what we have here because we have a strategy that's quite close to yours.
Okay.
We have some presence points on the map. We intend to deliver business services there. We have different profile of companies. I like it very much, this Gazelle strategy. We are kind of weak in this profile of we have dedicated a lot of energy with the formalization. We have more than we're now around 12 million new formalized business in Brazil. And we didn't have it 10 years ago when I were with you. It's a quite new policy. We have 12 million. Last year, during the crisis here, of pandemic crisis, we have 2.5 new analyzed business. So we put a lot of energy in that. And we are a little delayed on the gazelles. So it would match perfectly in our strategy. So in a workshop, maybe a half day, we could give the guidelines for the partnership. If you like the idea, I would suggest that, Eduardo.
For me, it's okay. Listen to them.
No, certainly. The more that we can learn about SBRAE and what you're doing now and what your current strategy, the better. Yeah, we want to learn first, where you are and what you're planning to do, of course.
So let me just understand. I believe that you are from Houston, correct?
San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio. Okay, I'm sorry. And also, I think Mrs. Maurice is from DC because I see AOS at the corner of the Constitution Avenue. I love it. I lived 3.5 years in DC. I love it. Yes, I took my master's degree at Georgetown. So Ms. Thompson should be in Brasilia, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So yes, I mean, I also see Denise Forini and also Mr. Brett. I'd be probably from the US. You are in the US, correct?
No. I'm from SBRAE.
Oh,
from the Institutional Affairs.
Yes.
Yes, I'm from the U.S. Yeah. So I mean, Eduardo, just to answer your question, so I'm the economic policy advisor for the State Department in Washington, D.C., overseeing all of our efforts on small business development in the entire Western Hemisphere, to include SBDC replication. And it's funny, Bruno mentioned the ASBDC conference in New Orleans. That was my first conference that I attended as well, with then Deputy Assistant Secretary Matt Rooney. So I was just learning about the wonders of the SBDC model, and more than a decade later, here we are. But to answer your question, Eduardo, from the United States government's perspective, we're prepared to move very quickly. We've already provided funding to the OAS to support this effort, and so. As we discussed previously, really what we were looking for was a strong signal from SBRAE that this was something useful and helpful to SBRAE's efforts. And that's what we're hearing today in very strong terms. So we're ready, if you're ready, to move as quickly as possible.
Definitely. Absolutely. Sure. So when could be our next moment?
Well, depending on us, it's just to set a date, and we will, if you want to organize the meeting, if you want, we can do it too. We contract some tools, digital tools, to make those plans online. Anyway, you just say, and we will be there. Juliana.
So
yeah,
perhaps
I have a question.
Juliana could be responsible to do that, Bruno. They can talk to them and reach an agreement regarding this day, time, and everything else.
Okay, for sure.
Catherine would be the contact with the group, US group. Is that right? Are you, Catherine?
Yes, you can absolutely contact me, and I'm happy to help coordinate all of this. I did want to give Maurice a chance to speak, if you'd like to, on behalf of OAS.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I would like to ask her a question, actually. So, hi, Maurice. Thank you very much for being here.
Hi. I have my colleague also, I believe, Renee. Renee, are you there? I believe you're there. Renee Penko.
I see here.
Hi, Maurice. Yes, I'm here. Yeah. So, yes, we're delighted to see that this is moving forward, and Renee is our coordinator for the SBDC project program at the OAS, and we'll be working very closely with you. So we're delighted to hear that this is moving fast, or quick, as Bruno mentioned. Love that surname. You should come to Washington to us more often, so we can move things faster. We're there to support you. You just let us know. We will be, of course, of our experts here. Renee and the UTSA team will be working very closely with you. So Renee, I don't know if you want to add something.
No, I don't think that there is anything to add in the circumstances. I think everything was pretty much covered in the meeting. I would say, though, that while there is a lot of excitement, we will need to get our house in order on the OAS side. So I think I'm not too sure how this meeting will work out. I'm sure this is something that we can probably discuss in our own housekeeping, I guess, to see when would be best to do this. Of course, UTSA is the consultant on this program. So, of course, we would need to do the necessary contracting on our end, etc. And, of course, these things don't happen today for tomorrow, as we say. So there would be those little housekeeping issues to get in check. But I think other than that, we strike while the iron is hot, no?
Right. Yeah, this was actually one of my questions. How does the partnership with OAS works, and how this is financing processes will be done, and if we have to sign a contract also with OAS or just directly like a MOU with SBDC, and to understand a little bit more about this. And Cliff, I have not very good question for you, but you said already, but as our director Eduardo said, we have less than 2 years to finalize this board time here, so it's going to be a change. So we would like to have an idea of the amount of this consultancy, of the so we can sign a commitment. I think it's difficult for us to sign a commitment without knowing the amount, and to do a obligation to the other board that will come in the next for the next 4 years. So maybe it's what were we talking about? We were talking about 10,000, 10 millions. Do you have just an idea? I know it depends a lot, but we need to know like a perspective, you know?
Yeah, I think first, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, I think first we would have to discuss how big is the pilot? So is it a pilot for one state, or is it a pilot? Because, you know, the one thing that I do not want to do is promise something that I can't deliver. So I want to make sure that I understand, you know, exactly what we're talking about. And from there, it's pretty easy to, you know, so what I'm saying is pretty early in the relationship, we can start mapping out, okay, you know, what would be the rollout strategy? And from there, we can tell you, you know, what the cost. Now, again, if you were El Salvador, I mean, yes, I could tell you right now, but Brazil, it's different. I mean, it's like the United States. I mean, it's a massive country and massive population, and, you know, very complex, and you know, states and communities. So I think after some initial conversations, I will be able to tell you. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to do this to be.
No, that's no problem. But it's something that we have to keep in mind.
Juliana, well, I just asked Eduardo Curado, this new guy that put his face over here. He's the guy that runs those digital workshops, and we could like those agile methodologies of planning. And so we could give you the guidelines, Cliff, so you could answer us. I think we could just see our agenda. So Catherine and Juliana will try to find the best day, okay? And we are ready to, and we sent some information first, and we prepared it all, okay? We say we love making jokes in Brazil. Not all of them are funny, of course. Eduardo is our Ben Affleck cover. You see that? He loves doing that.
So if I could sum up, I think
que vai pegar o negativo do ano desse ano.
Oh. So I think what would be useful is after the call, I can touch base with Cliff and Brett and Renee here on our side and put together kind of some of the administrative things that we'll need to cover in terms of next steps. And then we can discuss maybe having this workshop that would be a plenary session as to how big you guys want to make this program and what the technical on the technical side. So first we'll cover the administrative stuff and then take a look at the technical aspect. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah, Katie, I just wanted to add that Juliana Ainsneville with the U.S. mission, key player in this as well, if you can include me in that discussion.
Of course. Yeah. I was hesitant to say Juliana. I didn't want to confuse Juliana Kampf from Sebrae. So.
I know. Well, thank you. Just want to make sure that that everybody is aware. I work closely with Renee and everybody at the OAS, and I'll be working very closely with you all. Thank you.
Providing the money, very, very important.
Very important.
A very important one.
Great.
No, we're motivated to move quickly. I just want to communicate that as well. And we're always going to try to be as easy to work with as possible. And we want to move things forward as quickly as possible as well.
Perfect. So I will be your focal point as well, Denise. Denise is already working with you for a lot of time. So let's keep the focus on her as well. And now it's time to put things to happen as quick as possible, as Bruno as possible, as we say here.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, everyone. And if there's any questions in the meantime, please do email me. We have a long list of emails now, so but hopefully, and then again, please go through Denise or Juliana. They know how to contact me as well.
So I'd like to thank you all. Thank you, the embassy. Thank you, SBDC. Thank you, the OAS and everybody else that is here. It was a pleasure. Thank you for your time to explain and to clarify things to us. I think we are ready to move on. And yeah, we see each other in a few times.
Hopefully next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.